Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So nice to see everyone again. We moved from this month, we moved to just regular training forums once a month. We're not differentiating anymore between introductory and advanced. So if you have any questions, please start posting in the chat or the Q&A. All questions and queries are welcome. And Maggie is here and she will help me with sifting through the questions. So I guess while we're waiting for questions, we are in the process of releasing the next update, 1.3.3. The numbers don't matter. Primarily, we are correcting two bugs in the analysis strategy, two important bugs, and they have been corrected. Actually, in fact, I think on this computer, I do have the 1.3.3 beta. So the two analysis strategy bugs are corrected, as I said, and there are a few enhancements, all of which I don't have at the top of my head. But while we wait for questions, and there are people still joining, one of the enhancements that we made to the software is actually something that MacRep used to have, and that is to be able to search for rubrics by not just by remedy, by word or search query, but also by grade. And so we could search by remedy, by family, by the search term that you had inputted in global search. But what we couldn't do thus far was to search by grade. So to search for only grade 4 rubrics or grade 3 rubrics, etc., etc. You could also search for small rubrics, where there are less than 10 remedies or less than 5 remedies, or the remedy you're looking at is the single remedy rubrics. You could do all of that, but you couldn't search by grade. So we have added that feature. And so let me go here and show you that. So now when you come here to pick your remedy, you can see that you can choose a remedy or a kingdom. And then you can also go here and say, I want only the grade 4. I only want rubrics in which this remedy appears in a grade 4, for example. Because, that's what you would look for. I don't know why you would look for a grade 1 rubric for any remedy. But usually you look for the higher grades to see what is prominent. And so this you can do now. So if Maggie, if you're available, if there are any questions, I'd like to start with that. And then, maybe we can also run some searches here to show how this enhanced functionality in the upcoming upgrade will work. So there is a question from Blair. We have to copy and paste notes out of SHS into MindBody Online or Word documents for Office. This does not seem possible. Our only solution has been to print as a PDF and then copy and paste. Is there a simple way that we can copy and paste directly from SHS into Word? So usually, Blair, the users are asking mostly if they can copy from Word or another document into SHS, into the patient chart, but you're saying you want to copy and paste from SHS. So from a patient chart, you have made notes into the patient chart and you're going to put that into a Word file. So we can definitely try that. And then Willem saying he'd like to get in a big rubric only the 4th grade remedies. So that is the enhancement that's coming with 1.3.3. So I can show that because that's the beta on my machine at the moment. So let's start with these two questions. So I will do a new share in which I can also open a Word doc. So now you should be able to see this Word document. Let me move this zoom bar. I'm just going to place this off to the side. And what we can do is we can create a new patient and call it SHS training. And Blair, do let me know if what I'm doing here is not what you intend or not what you have to do in your office environment. But I'm assuming, so then we go here and we're gonna say spasmodic vomiting and fever. I'm just putting symptoms down just for the sake of having some text. Aches and pains, worse night, worse fever, and let's say thirstless. So let's say this is, and then previous treatment, and I'm going to say, let's say gels. And then you're basically trying to do this, Command C, then I would go over to the Word document here, and I'm going to try this. I've never tried this. So that didn't work. That's my old clipboard actually that I was working on. So let's see if I can do a double tap and say copy, and then go here and go. So that actually worked. So I did initially when it pasted my old clipboard rubrics, I had done a Command C. And this time you can see that I did I'm on Apple MacBook. So I have set it up for a right click as a double tap. And so that's what I did. So if you select the text you want to copy from SHS, and then you do on a Windows, you would do a right click, and on a Mac, you would do a hold down the control key and then click. Or if you have set up your Mac for a double tap to approximate a right click, then do a double tap and you will get that little menu. You see copy and paste. And so you're going to select and say copy, and then you're going to go to your Word document and you're going to, and on the Word document, I actually just did a Command V. And I did not, do the double tap to bring up the menu and then hit paste. But I probably, if I did that, that would work too. Yeah, so that worked too. So this actually is possible. Now, on this machine, I don't have the retail version of the software, which is what all of you have, which is 1.3.2, the one before. So just try that on the version that you have. This should be out as an automatic upgrade. You'll just get a prompt when you open your software, and we always send an email out before we release. So we're going to send an email out shortly. It will say the new upgrade is out. And then when you open your software next, it will prompt you to update your software. And so at that point, you can update, or you can wait for later if you're in the middle of a session or you're starting a client session, etc. And so for sure, it will work in 1.3.3, but let me know, Rupali at synergyhomeopathic.com, ROOPALI, if it worked for you in your current version. Okay, so that takes care of Blair's question. And then I'm going to close this and say yes. Also, let me know if that's what you meant, Blair, and then we can redo it if I misunderstood your question. And then, so Willem is saying he'd like to look for grade 4 rubrics for a particular remedy. So I'm going to go to, and this also, Willem, will be available in this update 133. So I'm going to go to remedy, and I'm going to pull up, let's do pulse. Or several grade 4 rubrics, obviously, for pulse. And then I'm going to go to grade, and I'm going to say grade 4. And then let's see, we've got grade 4 here. And then I want to go to remedy, and I want to check that pulse. So I checked the grade by going to the eye to see that grade 4 was selected. And I went back to the remedy and clicked on the eye again to see what is selected. So that's the search I want. And I'm going to hit apply. And you can see that the filter has been placed because that turned pink on my machine. It shows us pink. And I'm going to choose a smaller repertory than the complete, otherwise we'll have a long search. So I'm going to go to the reliable, and I'm going to pick a section. So the mind is a bigger section. Excuse me, the mind is a bigger section. So let's say, let's use the stomach, which might be smaller. And I think for sure it will have grade 4 rubrics for pulsatilla. And then I'm not limiting the remedies in the rubric. I'm saying it, so, you know, any rubric that has pulsatilla in a grade 4, and it doesn't matter how many other remedies are in there. And so I'm going to hit search. And so here you see we have all of the stomach rubrics in which pulsatilla, you can tell by the font of pulsatilla that it's a grade 4. So it's in all caps and underlined, which is how I have it set up in my program to show grade 4 remedies. And these are, you know, all of the pulsatilla grade 4 rubrics for that section. Now you can see that I have rubrics here that have only 3 remedies, and pulse is a grade 4. And then I also have rubrics in which there are 104 or 650 or 220, and pulse is a grade 4. So if you wanted, you know, to really pull the more prominent rubrics of pulse, then you could limit that also. And we go back in here, and you could limit that and say, you know, show me only rubrics that have 25 or less remedies, you know, and you've still got everything else the same. And I'm going to hit the plus sign instead of the search, so it won't overwrite the earlier search. And now you can see the rubrics that come up all have less than 25 remedies in them. And so these, you know, are obviously, pulse is very prominent because it's a grade 4. Oh, okay, wait, so this changed. So let me see, because let's go back here and see. Yeah, so the grade is not there anymore. That's why, let me go back and go out, and I'll show you the difference. You see, the reason I figured it out is because pulse was not in a grade 4 font. So I was like, what happened in the second search? And so I did the second search without checking all of the filters. I just changed the remedy size of the rubric. And so it ran as a non-graded search. So these are rubrics with less than 25 remedies in which pulse is there, but pulse is not a grade 4. And in fact, you can see, just visually, you can see that actually, if I kept all of those search terms and filters, then pulse is only in 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's run it. So there are still a few rubrics. So you should always go back and make sure that the remedy that you want is selected and the filters are intact. So let's run this again. So pulse, you come to grade, you select grade 4. And then if you want, you can check. And it's there, and you click on apply. And now we run the search again. And now you have rubrics with less than 25 remedies in them, all of which having pulse as a number 4 remedy. So that was Willem's question. I hope that helps, Willem. You can also just do that for families. And also, I would expect that you would be able to do it for comparing remedies as well. Yes. So you could compare one remedy against another, and both their grade 4 rubrics in the same section, or, show me pulsatilla, and you could also combine. So you could say, show me both pulsatilla, show me the rubrics in which both pulsatilla and Staphylococcus aureus are in grade 4 for bladder. And so you could do that. Or you could say, show me the rubrics in which pulsatilla is a grade 4 in the bladder section, but not Staphylococcus aureus. So that's what the compare remedies, and that's a little bit of an advanced search. So we'll just leave it there unless somebody specifically wants to see that. So we'll leave that. Maggie, if you're back.
Hi, I'm back. Yes,
yeah.
sorry.
Okay. So are there other questions?
Sorry, I just had to pop out there for a second. I don't know if you've picked up Blair's.
I don't know if they posted it's the formats of the sentencing and the paragraphs of the interview, but I also cannot copy and paste. Could you try to do 2 sentences and a paragraph? Sure. Okay, let's try and do that. So let me see what I can do. I will, no, let's see. Job 3, that's a paragraph, I know. So let me see if we can do this and copy text. Okay, so yes, you can get this. So let's see, I think that should be 100. Yes, text copied. And then we'll create a new patient again. And we'll go here and do Command B. Okay, won't let me paste from this up. Let's try this. Yes. Okay, so let's do 2 paragraphs. And actually, let's do 3 paragraphs. And then let's do this. And let's do this. Okay, so now we have some formatting. And I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to do a control click or double tap or right click, say copy, and come over to my Word document here. And say, let's use the system prompts instead of the keyboard prompts. And I'm going to say paste. And yes, so the paragraphs are retained, but the bold is lost. Okay, so I will take that back to the technical team and ask for this feature to be added. So when we copy from the software and paste into a Word document to not lose the formatting. Okay, let me see what else. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. So I can see, I saw all your responses, Blair. So we can see that the paragraphs are retained, but we're losing the actual text formatting. So I will put that in a ticket to the technical team. Okay. Are there any other?
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, good. Any other questions that have popped up in the meantime?
No, there aren't any questions at the moment. I was thinking we're probably, oh wait, no, William.
Yeah.
When I'm in a grade rubric and I want to select only the grade 4 remedies, this can't be done ad hoc, question mark.
No, when you're in a rubric, yes, actually, let's try.
The view in the repertory, no?
Yeah, he's saying that when he's in the repertory in a rubric and he wants to add that to the clipboard, but he wants to pick only the grade 4 remedies. That you can't selectively put a rubric into the clipboard where only the grade 4 remedies go in, but you can increase the importance of that rubric so that, you know, all of the grade 4 stuff will come to the top. Or but you can't, I mean, you know, if that rubric has other remedies with, you know, lower grades, they're still also going to come onto the clipboard because you're picking that rubric. You know, the other feature, which is, I think it still has to be tinkered with, but you know, it's a small group, so I'm going to show you guys, is that let's say we come here and I'm going to put some bigger rubrics on. So let's say here, let's put this one. And I'm only putting one, so it's simple to see. But you can see that there are several grade 4 remedies in this rubric. And then, of course, as I add more, you know, so now you can see here, the second rubric added some more grade 4 remedies, but the grade 4 remedies everywhere else shifted. And so depending on what the grade 4 remedies were here. But you can certainly, you know, you can say if the first, you know, absent-mindedness is more important, then you can give it a grade, obviously, right? So I can grade that rubric. Or you can come in here, and this is a new feature, which I think is, they're still refining it, which is why we haven't released this update. But you can limit the view to multiple remedies, which means that you can set up a filter where you can choose which remedies you want to consider in this repertorization, and you can get rid of everything else. So let's say you want to pick the top 5 grade 4 remedies, and those are the only ones you want to consider. You can limit the view to those top 5 remedies. And so like in this case, for example, you want to consider only lachesis, apis, sepia, and let's say not coffea, colchicum, and miserium. Let's say those are the only 5 grade 4 remedies. So it's impossible, it's not possible at the moment in the program to select that rubric and say, I only want the grade 4 remedies. But you can decide which of these are more important or worthy of consideration, and then you can limit the view to those remedies, and then see where the other rubrics fall for those 5 remedies. You can certainly do that, and that's a feature that's coming in this new update as well. So that's what I would suggest.
Rupali, while you're there on that chart, there's a question here to know if only nosodes can be viewed in the repertory chart. So could you filter for nosodes?
Yes. So you would come here, and I think ponderables, fungi, algae, viruses, miscellaneous. Let's try. I used to know this, and it has, I'm blanking. I will find this out. And let you know. Can we get the name and email of the viewer who's asking this question, and I'll get back to you. Okay. Any other questions, Maggie?
Yes, Carl wants to know, is there any chance of improving printing from a chart directly from the program rather than having to take a screenshot?
Yes, so this is also another bug that we fixed for this coming update. And so now you should be able to print directly from here. Let me move your image, Maggie. Isn't there supposed to be a print button here? Or is that from the patient chart?
Where are you?
Can you see? Can you see my
Yeah,
screen?
so when you pull down image there, yeah, so you've got the two options, the PDF or the JPEG. So depending on which you select one of those and then you press that little arrow. Yeah.
No, doesn't, no. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a save. This is a download.
Yeah, and then you print that.
Oh, and then we print that. Okay, so we didn't put a printer button directly on the graph.
No.
Ah, okay. So if I put this, so let's just leave it like that and say save, and then go up here. Here. So this is what we just saved. So if we open it up, now you can go here and say print. So your print menu. So, you know, it's still a couple of clicks to save the PDF and then print the PDF. But at least you don't, I mean, I don't know that it's very much different from a screenshot, but that's what we have. I think in the current version that everybody has, it wasn't possible to download the graph either. So I think that is something we fixed. I don't know. I think that we are not trying to connect the program to everyone's individual printers, because if we put a print button there, we would have to connect it directly to the print function. So I think it ends up being a download also, especially because most people want to take the image and put it into a Word doc or an article or a homework. So the capturing the image, I guess, is more important than just printing it as a one-page document. Okay. Any other questions? What are the other questions?
I'm just working here on one, but while I just get clarification of the question, do you want to show Rupali, if you can do it there on yours, how you can hide multiple reps from the view? I think that's another feature.
Yes. Yes. So this is another feature that we've added to the program with the update. As you can see on my machine too, you can pin, you know, your top 5 repertories at the top, but there's still, you know, a whole bunch of repertories that I know I never use, and a lot of other people don't use too. We all have our favorite books that we use again and again and again. And so in order to shorten this list, the one option we already had earlier was to delete the repertory here. This last one, delete repertory from the system. But that means it would delete the repertory from your database within the program, and you wouldn't have access to it at all. It would free up space in your program and in your computer. But if you had ever you know, done a case with that repertory, now that case, if you open that old case, there wouldn't be any rubrics because you've deleted the repertory from the database. So that was a little bit of a restriction there with deleting the repertory. So what we have done now is we've added this feature which says show or hide repertory. So what this does is it will hide the repertories that you're not using, but it will still keep them in the database. And if you ever want to go back and open up again something from the past that you don't use anymore, you can do that. So you would go to show hide repertory from system, and it will show you all of the repertories you have in alphabetical order. And then you can decide, let's say I want to just get rid of these 4 and I don't want to see them anymore. And I never use Douglas, and I don't use all of these old. Well, so 2005 is the first repertory I ever purchased. So that's the earliest one I have. Definitely have a lot of my school cases from my time in school in there, repertory, homeopathy school. And so, I mean, I don't go in there much. So maybe I don't want that anymore. And then you're going to say save. It will reload the program while it hides. And then I'm just going to say no, because I don't want that back. And now if you go here, you can see my complete 2005 is gone. And then if I go to the J's, then all the J's are gone, because I had picked all the J's and they're all gone. So you could, sort of permanently, not permanently, but you could decide that you don't want to see certain repertories and they're just clogging up the space on the left, and you can hide them. And I can always go back if I change my mind and come here, and it will have all the ones that you hid. So you don't have to try and remember which ones you hid. It will have them already ticked, so you can go in there and just, deselect or untick all of the ones and say save, and we'll reload your program again. And you can see that my 5 is back, and probably all of the others as well. And so this is convenient in the sense that you still keep everything, but you don't have to see them all the time. And but of course, your program is still going to take the same amount of space that it did before. Whereas if you deleted the repertories, it will free up some space. Like if you decide you never, ever use Douglas, you don't know what that is, and you probably are not going to be curious about it in the future, you could just delete that from the system, and it will take it out completely, and it will free up some small amount of space for you. Okay.
Thanks, Rupali. Karen is asking if you could go back and show that print facility one more time.
Of course, yeah. So let me put something. Okay. So here are the rubrics on your clipboard and on your graph. So now the feature, I want to remind everyone, the feature for saving this information will save only your repertorization graph. It is assumed that because you can just select this and copy and paste directly into your document, this is not needed to be printed. And anyway, because you can move this, back and forth, you can certainly reveal in their entirety the rubrics here on the graph. So you don't need to print the clipboard along with the graph. So only the graph will be saved and printed. You can choose the format in which you want to save the image, as a PDF or as a JPEG. And then once you do that, and I have that set up as a PDF, you're going to click this icon, which is it's a standardized download icon. You click that, and when you click that, it will bring you to a save screen in your computer, where you can decide the location, desktop, downloads, a new folder that you create, and you can name that with your patient name and the session date, however you want to name it, and all of the other bells and whistles, you want to tag it, etc. And then when you click save, so I'm just going to leave it as session. It's sort of anonymous at the moment, and I'm going to put it in my downloads, and I'm going to click on save. And when I open my Finder and I go to my downloads, you can see here that the session saved. So this is the second one that I'm doing right now. This is the previous one. And then when you can just, click on it and it will open for you as a PDF. Remember, because we said we want it in PDF format. So, here it is. It will save everything that is possible to the width of landscape orientation of your page. So you will get as many remedies as will fit in that landscape orientation. And then from here, you can go to your whatever. I mean, if you use Acrobat or Preview or whatever software you use to open your PDFs, and then you can just go to File and Print. And I mean, it at that point, it's a file, so you can share it, you can print it, you can modify it, put text on it, whatever you want to do. That's at this point, that's possible. So that's what you would do. So once again, remember, you choose your format, PDF versus JPEG, and then you download, and then you choose the location of that file where you want to put it. It can be directly into your patient. If you create patient folders, you can put it directly into the patient folder. And then you can print or do other things with it once it's a PDF or a JPEG file. JPEGs are easier to upload. That would be an image, and the PDF would be a document. So that's the difference. Okay.
Rupali, yeah. There are 2 questions about global search. Can you search pulsatilla for weeping? So weeping in pulsatilla.
Yeah.
Also,
okay, go ahead.
William is asking, can you do like a complex search? Can you give an example of a complex search?
Sure. So there's 2 ways to search for weeping in pulsatilla. One would be to just type the remedy name, and you can see that it comes up, right? You can see. So pulsatilla plus means pulsatilla variations as well, or just pulsatilla. So I'm going to search just pulsatilla. And then when I do that, you can see that it places a filter, and that word, whether it's a section name, remedy name, family name, it will turn blue. And then I'm going to space, and I'm going to type weeping. Okay. And then I'm just hitting the return or enter key, but you can also just, click on the little magnifying glass. And so now in your global search, you have all of the repertories that you have visible. Remember, these are not hidden. So all of the repertories, and then all of the sections in all of the repertories which contain the remedy pulsatilla and weeping. The second way to do this search would be to just type weeping and then go into the filter button. And now you have a choice of running this. So when I do that, I guess there is a choice both ways, but you can now choose to run this. You can run it as a repertory search or a reference library. So let's say we're just doing a rubric search at the moment. And then you come to repertories and you come to remedy, and then you type pulsatilla. Click on apply, and then I'm going to run it as an additional search, not overwriting the previous search, so we can compare. And you can see that's the exact same search, but we did it the first one was a shortcut where I typed, you can see pulse and weeping. And then in the second search, I just typed weeping and filtered it from this big filter here, where you can choose multiple things to filter with. So that's a simple search. This is another enhancement that I had asked for, and another user had asked for, which is earlier you would have to X out, but now as soon as you go back in there, it will highlight the word for you, and you can just overwrite your previous search, which I wanted. So let's see. So let me remove the filter too. Okay, so a complex search would be where you are either looking for very specific rubrics, or you are looking in the reference library for remedies which match the characteristics that are
William,
striking.
yeah,
Yeah.
William was actually saying, could you please show some examples of a clever search, number / point wise, etc.?
What does that mean? Number / point
I
wise?
think number is the proximity numbering, you know,
Oh,
within 3
so
spaces. Point wise.
right.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll just, so I think I had this earlier. So vomiting, let's say within 2 words of spasmodic, yeah, in the same, and I'm now going to use my space bar and say in the same remedy as, I don't even know if there's a, oh, what's happening to my spelling? Evacuation, oh, evacuation within 2 words of incomplete in the same remedy as fear within 3 words of dark. That's a complex search. You're asking the program to tell you all the remedies that have these characteristics: spasmodic vomiting, incomplete evacuation, and fear of dark. And I can keep adding. I mean, if you have 5 characteristics, we can do 5. Just remember, the more specific the characteristics that you choose to put in a complex search, the harder. So the more elements you put into a search, the broader you kind of have to pull out. So then if I did another like 3 elements that were more specific, like this, your search would probably not yield anything. So it's a trade-off between how specific you want the search to be versus how productive you want the search to be. So you want to have a handful of really good remedies that are indicated for your patient. But at the same time, if you craft the search to be very tight, the restrictions will be too many and it won't yield much. But if you keep it too broad, like weeping, for example, if I hadn't put the pulsatilla filter on there, if I just put weeping, the search would have yielded, a ton of remedies. And so, I mean, hundreds of remedies, and you don't want that either. So I'm just going to run this, and I'll show you the next level. Like if we had 5 elements, I would pull back a little bit from the specificity of the vomiting or the evacuation. And I would probably say something more like vomiting in the same remedy as constipation, in the same remedy as fear of dark, in the same remedy as heartburn. So that's much more, those are like very broad, or nausea. Those are very broad things, but then you're asking, give me the remedy that has all 5. And then, if you can filter by a grouping, then it makes it a very, very good search. Of course, if you leave it without a kingdom filter, then you're going to, most polycrests will have all of that. Like, right, every polycrest will give you constipation and nausea and vomiting and fear of dark. So you'll still end up with a lot of remedies. So let's run that search. And result not found. So, and you can see when I clicked it, it selected everything, but I don't want to override this search. I just want to change it a little bit. So instead of now putting this like this, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say spasmodic in the same remedy. Let's try constipation. And let's try this. Result not. Oh, sorry, I had my earlier. It has to be this one and not this one. So the reason we're getting result not found is because we were running it as a repertory search, and there is no rubric in the repertory that covers all of those search terms. So that was the issue. So I'm now correcting the search and saying this would only be a reference library search. And so I checked this one and I unchecked that. And now we'll run it again. And you can see now the search is actually running. And you get 67 remedies. So I did not realize that I was running a repertory search. And so now we can actually put something more specific here. And let's try it again with evacuation within 2 words of incomplete. And I'll run it as a different search. And this time you only get 7 remedies instead of 67. So you can see going from a very broad pathology to something more specific and descriptive tightens the search up. And you go from 67 remedies in this search to only 7 remedies in this search. Now you can see if I added a 4th search term, that means I'm going to go down from 7. And very likely I might come up, depending on what I add, I might get 2 remedies or none, because this is already a very tight search. I've defined the quality of the vomiting, I've defined the quality of the constipation, and I've put a fear in there. So this is, a good complex search that is still giving me 7 remedies, and I didn't even filter by kingdom. I'm going to create a new clipboard, and I'm going to add this result to the clipboard. And now you have 7 remedies, you see. And yes, 4, I would call 4 of them as polycrest, maybe even graph. So 5 polycrests. But you've still got plumbum in there and natrum carb. So, this is how, so you really have to work with it and maybe get a lot of dud results before you start to get the feel of it, to say, how can I craft a complex search that captures the prominent, striking, characteristic qualities of my patient, but at the same time isn't so tight that it won't yield any results. And you might, like when I'm doing this kind of search for my patient, and I've decided not to go the rubric route, the repertory route, and I'm doing this, sometimes I have to run the search, I don't know, 10 different times with modifying the search terms, adding, subtracting search terms. But usually when I'm doing this, I'm also fairly confident in my head that I'm looking for a certain, I don't know, Malval is like a plant remedy, or I'm looking for an insect remedy, or I'm looking for like which area of the materia medica I'm in from a kingdom perspective. And that adds a very good filter on top of, so when you do end up with a lot of polycrests, etc. I mean, this is a tight search. So, but if you end up with like, the previous one where we had 67 remedies, this one, and you add a kingdom filter on top of it, you can get some very good, let's try putting this, okay? And then I will put this on the clipboard. And remember, you can add the kingdom filter here, or you can add the kingdom filter over here. So now these are 67 remedies, right? And you can see at a glance, because I have my kingdom line turned on, you can see that it's a, fairly decent mix, not that many animals, but a fair mix of plants and mineral remedies in here, right? And so let's say I was thinking of an animal remedy. I could just come up here and do that. And now I've got, 8 animal remedies to think of that have these characteristics. Which, if we go back to our search, when we did this search with, a very specific kind of constipation, we only got 7 remedies, and only, I'm surprised. Oh, that's a miasm. So the kingdom filter, yeah, there are no animals in here. So you can see that with the very tight search term, if I was thinking of an animal remedy, I would be at a loss. Like this is basically a non-productive search for me in this case. So I would have to loosen up the search a little bit to get more animal remedies in the net. It still has to be faithful to the patient, but you have to loosen up the search a little bit so you get more, well, yeah, I guess pun intended, you get more in the net. So that,
Rupali,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, could you go back and show again how you get the results of your search into your clipboard?
Yes, that's very simple. So whenever you run a search, and you get a result and it doesn't say result not found, you will know how many remedies came up. And then to the right of the search is this plus button. And it says, if you hover over it, it says add search results to the clipboard. You just have to click on it. That's all. So I'm going to go here, select all, delete. Okay, so now you can see I deleted all my clipboards. I'm going to just open a new clipboard and I'm going to click on this plus button. And you see it says new rubric added. And when I come here, my search term is here with the remedy result. And you can always add more rubrics on top of this. If you feel that you had to really encapsulate the qualities of the patient into these 3 search terms, but there are some others that you don't want to put in there, but you want to add them onto the clipboard, you can always add more rubrics here on top of this. So this can live very peacefully in the clipboard with your other rubrics, and you can look at the results of that along with your other rubrics. So, let's just go, instead of doing a search, we can just go back in here. Let's say you want to add more mental rubrics. So you go, I don't know, let's add something from here, future bowel. Yeah, and so now you go here and you can see, I mean, that's a very small rubric I added, but you can see, you can look at that repertorization, you can build it up here. Let me go back and so when there are too many windows and I haven't laid them out here, let's go back and I'm going to put this one and I'm going to delete this one. Now you can see, okay, absorbed, buried in thought, plus you have these other search terms. You're looking at these 4 remedies. You can do that. So you can layer on other rubrics on top of your reference library search rubric. Okay. So any more questions? We have a few minutes.
Can you explain what modules are in the top bar there?
Yes. So modules at the moment actually is a placeholder, but what we're putting underneath is, so we have some modules coming. Just like Vital Quest is the sensation module. If you work with sensation, you can use it. There's Materia Medica and analysis associated. This is a module that stands in the menu, on its own rights. But we are working on a module with Massimo Mangialavori based on his philosophy and how he groups Materia Medica and what sorts of analysis strategies he prefers when he looks at things. So we're working on that. And I think we're working on another module, but that is what a module is. And that's where they will go once they are ready. But at the moment, what we're doing is there are certain Materia Medica books out there that have either a lot of visual material in them that is not possible to be made available through the reference library, because the reference library restriction is that it's text only. And other places like Vermeulen's, Franz Vermeulen's Plants book does have a lot of information available at the family level, the plant family, and then the remedies. And they really feel that it's meant to be read that way. But it's impossible to be represented in that way in the reference library, because in the reference library, as you know, all of the information is presented on the basis of remedies. We do have family information in here also, but it's not meant, it doesn't give you the reading flow that it would if you were handling a book. So what we have done here in the module section is for Mahesh Gandhi's foundation book, the visual material is represented here as PDFs, and they have been uploaded in this section. So if you have his foundation book, but you were missing the charts, which are important, really, you can now find them under modules. And then for the Vermeulen book, if you bought any part or the entire Vermeulen book, then, oh, okay, let me reload that. Force quit. So we should send this to the technical team. Now come back here.
Well, that's the beta version you're running, isn't it?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm on the beta. I'm going to try this one more time, and if it crashes, then we know for sure there's a problem. There. Okay. So this, let me open it up. So you can see there are 15 plant group families. And what we have done is, in addition to putting all the remedies and the material in the reference library portion here, here you can see Vermeulen plants, group 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 15. In addition to that, so that is truncated and it's presented by remedy, by family. But here, if you go, it's presented in the way that is presented in the book. So actually, when you buy that book or you buy a plant, it's possible to purchase just one plant family or 5 plant families and not the whole book, because it's a huge book. You can get the information in the program, in the reference library, but you also get a PDF of that module, and you can read it as you would read a book. So you can go to the first family and you can, this is written exactly as it's written in the book. And then you read about the family, and then you go to the remedy, and then you read about the remedy and all of the different. And then when you're done with that, you can go back and there's all the remedies, there's the family. So I guess the point I'm making for modules is some books have special needs, or the author wants them to be read and absorbed in a particular way. So at the moment, we're using the modules portion of the menu to house that extra information. And if you have those books, then your program will automatically open this extra information under that menu tab. Once we actually have modules other than Vital Quest to include in the program, then possibly we'll move this information and put it somewhere else, or maybe add another menu item there. And so that's what's happening at the moment.
Thanks, Rupali. I think we just have time for one final question, which is going back to the search. Mm-hmm. We have a customer here saying, when I type vomiting, the number 2 and spasmodic in my search, and I click on reference library, I get no results. Maybe reference library.
Okay, so make sure that you're not putting any spaces between your search terms. When you use numbers in your search terms, and when you use the space bar in your search terms, you do not put any spaces. When you put a section or a remedy name, and then you identify it as such, so you turn it into a filter, then you put a space and then the rest of your search terms. So I'm going to demonstrate. So vomiting, and then I'm not doing a space. You can see that my cursor is still at G, and I'm hitting 2. and automatically a space is created. And then at 2, I'm not putting a space, and I'm putting spasmodic. So there are no spaces in that I put. There are spaces that the program created. And my repertory is highlighted and my reference library is highlighted. So it will run the search both ways. And when I do that, you will get rubrics for vomiting within 2 words of spasmodic. And then you will get a reference library search. And of course,
the customer is saying, thank you, that was the issue.
Okay, perfect. And
Perfect.
so just remember, yeah, so even when, and then the same thing is true. I want to just take a minute and explain. So my cursor is at G, and now I'm going to use the space bar. When I use the space bar, it actually puts a space there. And then when I hit the space bar again, it puts sentence, which is the first proximity in the space bar. And then when I hit the space bar a 3rd time, it gives to paragraph, and then 4th time, section, 5th time, remedy. And I was using remedy as the proximity word in the earlier complex searches. And now I'm leaving the cursor at M. I'm not hitting the space bar a 6th time. And I'm going to type constipation, but you see a space automatically occurs. So the protocol is slightly different each time. Now I'm going to X out of this, and I'm going to show you the pulsatilla search that we did with weeping. In this case, I'm typing pulse, and I'm waiting for the menu to pop up. When the menu pops up, I'm putting pulse as a filter, and it actually pulses once, it flashes. And then I put my cursor back, and now my cursor is at the period, but I'm actually going to put a space before I type weeping. And now I run the search. So remember, no spaces when you do numbers. When you use the space bar as a proximity word selector, it will automatically, when you hit it first, it will put a space, and then all the other subsequent hits will give you sentence, paragraph, section, remedy. And then when you actually do either a remedy or, for example, you do mind, right? I'm going to wait a second, and the menu will pop up. You're going to say mind section. You're going to put your cursor back at the D. I'm going to do a space. And then I'm going to say, I don't know, contrary. I don't even know if that's, and then run it. So 3 different protocols for 3 different kinds of searches. So remember that. Good. Thank you for all your wonderful questions. That was great. Remember, there will be no training for the rest of the month, and the next training will be the first Friday of November. And we welcome you back then. If you have any questions or queries, we welcome emails in the meantime between now and the next Friday of the training. So don't hesitate to write to us, lucy@synergyhomeopathic.com or rupali@synergyhomeopathic.com, and we'll be happy to help. Have a wonderful weekend and see you next month. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, Maggie.
Thanks, Rupali. Bye-bye.